Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page where I do this daily live stream. The information around the Oracle card or the Divination card that was drawn in the morning. And it's meant for a group, for the community, right? And really it's about starting a spiritual conversation and, maybe some learning a few things along the way too, and for me, more importantly, is to hang out with the Star Nations community and have a conversation. Right? Sometimes it feels like back in the old days, before we moved to Toma. This would have been pre-2006. I used to have a monthly spiritual roundtable at my house. And it was pretty informal. It's like whoever wanted to come came. There was no set agenda of any kind of item to discuss. It wasn't run like a meeting at all. And I think it ran from like 10 o'clock until 3 o'clock or something like that. And if you came and stayed through lunch, then, to bring something to share, right, for lunchtime. Yeah. And it was fun. I mean, sometimes we would have only a couple people. Other times I would have like 25 people in the dining room. And it was just really fun and just getting to know each other and being supportive of each other. Right. And so a lot of times this is what this daily live stream feels like to me. Yeah. Yeah. And so welcome. Today is Saturday, February 16th. And I'm broadcasting once again from Star Nations Academy. And what I'd like to do, just take a moment to pause here just for a second. And that is to share and like the broadcast. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to share it over to my newsfeed and let my friends know that I'm live streaming. And let's see, my daily live stream show. We're going to call it a spiritual talk show. There we go. And then to please join. Please join. Oops, got to spell right. That would be helpful. All right, there we go. There, let's see. Let's see, I'm going to refresh my page here on my phone and see if the video is actually running. Oh, there we are. Good. All right. So it's the weekend, and there's at my house, usually Saturdays are usually fairly busy. Not so much with work stuff, although that's included, but it's more family kind of stuff because, Paul's home and sometimes Saturday morning is the time that he can help me with stuff that I've kind of put off until he can be home, like lifting things or moving things, that kind of thing. And today it was mostly about snow removal. As you know, we got quite a bit of snow last week. We had like 17.9 inches, which was the official measurement here in Toma. And there were certain things that he couldn't do during the week because of his work, and I couldn't do it by myself. So it was cutting in walkways for George and borrowing the neighbor's snowblower to do that, because Paul, what he has is a blade, and so to move this kind of snow, you really do need to throw it somewhere. So he borrowed the neighbor's snowblower, and we dug out the mailbox. That was you'd think that would have been easy, but it wasn't. And so that took a little while. Yeah, and that kind of stuff, and daily stuff that everybody does, like run and get some groceries or, that kind of thing. So this morning was kind of busy with that stuff. Oh, yay. Let's see. I got to scroll a little bit here. I'm checking the chat. And it looks like Stephanie, our social media manager, has been busy. She's making some posts there for information, text information, links, and that sort of thing. Hey, Tina's here. Hello, Tina. Good to have you in the house. And Julie's here too. Hello, liked and shared. Thank you so much, Julie. Appreciate that. Julie is also part of the executive team here at Star Nations. She's our academy manager. Yeah. And Rochelle's here. Rochelle, happy Saturday. She says it's sunny here, making chicken noodle soup. Ooh, if I could, I would. I'd come right over. It's one of my favorite kind of soups. Yeah. We're preparing, well, we're kind of planned supper a little bit. Lunch was no big deal. Mom had soup. It wasn't, it was open a can of soup and warm it up. So it wasn't exactly, a lot of labor into it. But for tonight's supper, now that's something different. There's a place down in Texas that Paul gets tamales from, and they come frozen. They come packed in dried ice. They are some of the best tamales I've ever had. And so we pulled some out of the freezer, and we're going to have beef tamales tonight. And I'm making rice and refried beans. And yeah, it's kind of like comfort food for me, because that's the kind of food I grew up with. Yeah. So you're making chicken noodle soup, and we're going to focus on Mexican food. Real Mexican food. All right. Man, we got a lot of things going on here at Star Nations. Whenever I see it in writing like this, when Stephanie does the promotions for it, it's like, holy smokes. It's no wonder. It's no wonder sometimes I feel really tired. We do a lot. We really do. Try to get enough information out to our community, which kind of reminds me of something that I was thinking about this morning. Is, there's an old saying, there's many paths up the mountain, right? Meaning that there's more than one option. There's more than one way to get to our destination. And the destination that I'm referring to is our soul growth, right? To complete our soul contract that we have here. Some people would call it ascension, right? And so there's more than one way to do that, which is good, because if we only had one way, it would leave out a lot of people, right? So to have options is a good thing. And I was thinking about that when I was thinking about our live stream shows here at Star Nations. And, because we added two new shows, this one last month and one this month. And yet I think that, when I take a look at what we offer here, we're pretty eclectic. We cover a wide variety of belief systems and perspectives. And I was thinking, it's kind of nice to be able to have that available, so that those in our spiritual community here, and those who will be joining our spiritual community, there's more than just one option. Right? If you want, you can do the Druid path. If you want, you can do the Christian path. If you want, you can do the pagan path, or the Native American, so we cover a wide range. But even with that, I think that when you listen to the different shows, whatever resonates with you, whatever feels good to you, or gives you one of those, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. And it kind of opens up the possibilities even wider for you, right? To me, I think that is, it brings a smile to my face and love to my heart. Really, it does. To be able to have the platform and the venue for our show hosts, the writers and our teachers, and to have that venue, right? So that's what I was thinking about this morning. Just before I drew the cards, actually. And yes, I did say cards, plural. Plural. The last few days we've been getting 3 cards jumping out, but I've been instructed to only take 1. And today 3 cards jumped out and I was instructed to take 2. And, I should probably do this before I show you the cards, just in case we have new people, right? And they don't know what this live stream is all about. Is that every morning, and I've done this for a really, really long time. It's nothing new that I started. What was new is that I took the information, a quote from the card that I drew, and I put it on our business Instagram account. We're at a year and a half of doing that, I think. Something like that. And then I had this bright idea. Actually, my team gave it to me. It's like, do a live stream show, a daily live stream show. And we started that in May. And showing the card that I gotten, or the cards and the decks of cards. And the intention for the card draw is really for the entire community, right? It's for everybody. And the intention is, I ask my spiritual team to please show me the information, the energy that's most important for us to know about today, that's flowing today, that it would be helpful for us to know about, right? And that's for the highest good, for our own highest good and the highest good of all. And so that's the intention every day. And so we've used several different decks of cards, and we currently are using this particular deck, the Druid Animal Oracle by Stephanie and Philip Cargome, and illustrated by Bill Worthington. The deck was gifted to me by Mervyn Kelly, who happens to be one of our live stream show hosts, and he is a modern day Druid. And the author of this deck is actually his mentor. Yeah, it's kind of nice, isn't it? And so this particular deck, we started using it on February 1st, St. Bridget's Day. And I have to tell you that I'm learning a lot. The amount of information I knew about Druidry was about this big, if that, right? And this deck has really, in the short time that we've been using it, there's been new information that I've never heard before, because it's written from a perspective that is actually coming out of the UK, right? And so it opens up the mind, our mental mind, to bring in a perspective that we may not have had the opportunity to consider before, right? And it doesn't mean that, we're trying to change your belief system at all. No, not at all. But it helps us to understand the commonalities, right? Even though that this information is coming from England or from Scotland or New Zealand, right? Any of the UK countries, it really is about seeing, oh, you know what? That's very similar to something in your own belief system, right? And then there's those moments where, like I said, it's a different perspective. So it opens up the possibilities to see something from a different direction, and to understand it maybe in a broader way or a deeper way, right? So with that, the first card that came, this is going to be, I think, the 3rd or 4th time that this card has come. Now, keep in mind, I think there's like 55 cards in this deck. And Swan, Eala, the Gaelic word for swan, Eala, has come to us once again. Eala. Yeah. And so whenever a card comes multiple times, right, is Spirit's really trying to get a message across to us. There's something that we either haven't expressed, or we've expressed it, but maybe it was rather light or superficial, that we need to go deeper with it, right? Swan. Yeah. And that red dot down there at the bottom, that's a yewberry. And so it's coming from the tree. It's a yew tree, Y-E-W, yewberry. And we've talked about this card from many different directions. Up in the horizon there is Newgrange, and that's in Ireland. It's a cairn, C-A-I-R-N, cairn. It's a burial tomb. It was built to bring in the sun, because there's electricity now, but when it was first built, there wasn't. And it's built along the sun lines so that on the equinoxes, that the chamber is filled with light. Is it equinoxes? No, I'm sorry. I take that back. Delete. It's solstices. So the summer and winter solstice, right? And I have to say that they're very busy that time of year. I've been there, I think 4 or 5 times. You can't really even get there on the solstices, really, because there's so many people there. What they do is they do a lottery. You can sign up as many times as you want to get your name into the bucket, and then they draw out, I can't remember how many names, 20 or 30 names, something like that. And you have the opportunity to actually be inside the cairn on the solstice, whichever one that you won. So, yeah, it's one of these days I'm going to be heading back to Ireland. I'm not sure exactly when. But and Paul knows this. He knows that if I had the opportunity, that's where I would live, is in Ireland. Yeah. So it's like my second home. Hey, and Pat's here. Good afternoon, Pat. It's good to have you here. Just want to make sure I didn't skip anybody here. I don't think so. All right. So the first card is Swan. And Philip, the author, writes the words that come with Swan is soul, love, and beauty. Soul, love, and beauty. And our soul, the higher aspect of ourself, right? The highest aspect of ourself. When I went to college in my undergrad, my major was psychology with a human service emphasis. I've always been fascinated, even as a kid, fascinated with human behavior and why people do what they do or how they do it, right? It fascinates me. It's those questions that come up. And I grew up in a tourist town, Wisconsin Dells. And so there are occasions where I would just people watch. I was waiting for a ride or something like that, to either go home or to go to my next job or something. And so you take the time just to people watch, right? And to me, it's just fascinating. And the older I got, it never went away. And so when I was in college, that's the area that I had the most interest to study. And then once I was out of college, I was a non-traditional student, which means that I started college right after high school and then got married and took a break in my education, although I was taking classes here and there, but I wasn't a full-time student. And when I finally went back to school full-time, I was taking the max credits I could. because I was paying for my own education, and knowing how much it cost to sit in that chair, that I needed to be able to get through as best as I could, as quickly as I could. And one of the things that I realized after I graduated, after it was all said and done, is that as two-leggeds, as humans, we've spent a lot of time and a lot of effort taking apart our being to understand it, to look at it from so many different perspectives and angles, that we have created a belief or a thought pattern that we are these bits and pieces, that we have this inner child that's over there somewhere, and that we have this ego that's always out of control, and that's over there. And then our higher self, our high self, or what we call our soul, is somewhere else, right? And that there's that they're all separate from us, from this being that we see every day in the mirror, the conscious being, right? Or the adult. Yeah. And so then I took the next decade or two to pull back all those pieces, to make a whole being again. And so when I look at a card like this, and the words that go with it are soul, love, and beauty, is that this is what came to me this morning, is that that when we're in the full understanding that we're a whole being, that we're not these bits and pieces, that we have an opportunity to be able to see our life in a much different way and how it unfolds. And it is very beautiful. That's when we get to the point, I believe, that we have the ability to see ourselves in love, with love. That we're not this broken human that has all these needs, and we have a lot of them, right? But that we have when we see ourselves as a whole being, that we're not this fraction of this and a fraction of that. And coming from a Native American, we're the only people that had to ever, and still do, have to prove our blood quantum, that we have X amount of DNA within a certain people to be enrolled in a tribe with our own people. It makes no sense. So to be able to see ourselves as a whole being rather than these bits and pieces. And so when I was looking at this card this morning, and I was talking to my team and saying, so what didn't we discuss or share about with this card? Because we talked about the swan being at the threshold, the ability to shapeshift, that they mate for life. And, we even talked about coming into this incarnation, into this physical body. It's a swan coming in, making this big splash, coming in for a landing. And that the swan in the background is Angus, shape-shifted himself into a swan so that he could be a life partner to Yewberry, which is the female swan at the foreground. And that he was going to take her home to where his home is, which is in Newgrange, in a cairn, because the cairn was never documented to be a place that was like a home, right? It was a place where it was a burial place. Now, granted, There's probably some things, many things that we don't know about Newgrange that hasn't been uncovered yet. And so I suppose that's always a possibility that it was a home at one point, maybe. Yeah, but so we've talked about those things. And the last time we had this card, because I even remember I was up in the medicine room or the meditation room, and I actually smudged in there and I lit a candle because of this card came up again. And I knew we were going to be talking about the soul. Yeah. And so what of it today? So when this card came out of the deck and I was talking to my team and I said, I think I need more guidance here. What is it that we should be receiving from the essence of this card today that we haven't received yet? And so basically I was told to shuffle again. And so I'm shuffling and I'm shuffling, I'm shuffling, and I'm shuffling. And George is sitting there watching me, right? And he comes over to me and he puts his head on my knee. And as soon as he did that, a card jumped out. And I was hoping, please don't go after the card. He didn't. But the card that came out, I'm going to mark this page. The card that came out is this one, Wolf. And this is a card we haven't had yet. A card we haven't had yet. Wolf. And the Gaelic word for wolf is Faol. And it's not that I speak Gaelic. They have a pronunciation guide in the back of the book. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. But this is wolf. Faol. And what I find interesting, there's many things about this card I find interesting. But that the wolf had been hunted to extinction in the UK, in Europe. That was centuries ago. And so that always makes me wonder about the spirit of the wolf, and their connection to it in Europe. Now we have the same thing here. They're not hunted to extinction, but in the U.S. and in Turtle Island, we have government officials who have given the blessings for them to be shot. We had past tense. We had 2 packs of wolves. It was 1 pack at first, and it grew so large that it split naturally. They did this on their own at Fort McCoy. And so we had 1 pack that was in the northern part of Fort McCoy and another pack in the southern part. We live about 10 miles from Fort McCoy. And then there is another pack that is east of us, and there's another pack that's north of us. And so basically within probably a 10 to 20 mile range, we have several packs of wolves around here. Well, it wasn't too long ago that the government came in and actually, because it's Fort McCoy and it's government land, they can practically do whatever they want there, right? Is that they did thin out the packs. I was not happy. And so, the wolf has a certain reputation. And we have a good friend of ours who is actually a wolf expert. He was part of the Department of Natural Resources here in the state and has since retired. But he's written a couple of books on wolves and knows their habitat and knows their characteristics, right? And one of the things he says the most is that it's humans that have put them in jeopardy more often then they've done that to themselves. Usually they keep to themselves most often. It's humans that have taken and done breeding, with a domestic dog and wolf. And then they don't know what to do with the babies, right? Because it's illegal. And so then what they do is they just release them. And so then you have, the domestic dog that is used to humans, and so will bring her babies closer to humans. Yeah. And so the farmers get kind of upset about that because, they'll start hunting the herds instead of the deer, because the white-tailed deer and the wolf are symbiotic. So if you have a large whitetail herd, you're going to have a larger quantity of wolves because it's a natural way to balance out the population. Yeah. And then we get involved. The two-leggeds get involved and kind of screw things up for our relatives, the four-legged, right? Yeah. And then I have to say, there's probably some people who feel that they're doing it for the best, right? It's not done maliciously on many people's parts, but still. So we still have this relationship with wolf that really goes back thousands of years, because our domestic dogs have come from this DNA. Now, let's take a look at the wolf. Notice the trees in this particular card actually have leaves on them. Most of the cards that we've drawn, the trees had no leaves. He's not looking directly at us either. Walking alongside the water. And notice out of the 4 legs he has, the 4 feet, 4 paws, 3 are on the ground and 1 is not, right? So some would say that, he has 1 foot in another world. Yeah. Wolf. And so, let's see if I can get this in the camera. There's an etching on the stone, which is a wolf. I don't know if I can get that in there. Get it up close enough and still keep the focus. Yeah. There's another waterfall in the background. So with the water being there, there's also some emotion going on. Not as much as the swan, but there's still an element of emotion here, water. And whether or not you see that sunrise or sunset, it's the same kind of color of yellow or gold that's in the swan card. Faol, Gaelic word for wolf. Wow. Hey, Valerie's here. Hello, Valerie. Good afternoon. Yeah. Wolf. Now, it's interesting. How many people in the live chat have wolf as a power animal or as a totem? I have both. I have one as a totem, which I got. It was after, I think I was 17. I was 17 when I had my first encounter with the little death And it was right after that I received Wolf, that two of them walk with me. But it's also a power animal for me as well. So the two wolves will always be with me, always. And the third one has come and gone, helping me to learn a specific life lesson, right? Yeah. And so I had to ask my team, what is this connection that we're looking at, to help us understand in a deeper level the Swan card, right? I'm going to show the Swan again. Hang on, I got to mark my pages here because I don't want to lose them. So I'm going to take out a couple other cards. All right, so the Swan card, this is the one that came first, and we've had Swan several times, right? And I know that we're getting close to something because I got warm. Oh, Pat's saying that it's a totem for her. Thank you, Pat. That's Wolf. And Julie is saying, I've had it as a past power animal, but I feel one at my side most days. Yeah. And having that kind of connection, like I shared yesterday, is that, I'm more of a dog person than I am a cat person. And that comes from that totem that I carry, which is the wolf. And so I've always had a dog in my life ever since I can remember. Yeah. Whether it was my dog or not, it was a family dog or something like that. So, yeah, I want to show you the two cards together. Okay. The two cards together so we can get the feel for them together. Okay. All right. I got to do something here. I've got somebody asking me to send them the link to the live stream. So hang on just a second. And I am going to send it over to, let's see. All right. So we're going to share it. And we're going to send it over to Janet. Here we go. There we go. She should have it now, I hope. I hope so. Well, hopefully she'll be able to come in and let me know if she's gotten it, right? All right. Thanks for being patient and letting somebody know that they can get into the live stream. All right, so I want to show the two cards together so we can get the feel for this. And I am going to share with you about what the author has to say about Wolf. But I want us to tap into our own intuition before we bring in the author. And the feeling that you get when you see these two together, right? Because some would say that the wolf is a predator, right? And could see the swan as supper. But I think it's more than that. And I tell you what, at first I had to really look at the cards together. And that's when I saw the same kind of sky color. And so we have a connection with it, right? Oh, good. Janet's with us. Yay. Good. Excellent. You got here. That's all right. You're here now. All right. So looking at these two together, just check in with yourself, right? Notice what you're feeling. And then notice what draws you first to each of the cards. Because the second card, Wolf, is supporting whatever it is that we're meant to know about or coming from the Swan. It's helping, Wolf is helping us to understand at a deeper level, a deeper understanding of what the message is that the Swan is bringing to us. Yeah. All right. So Rochelle is saying they're both by water. Yes, they are. But notice how much water. Wait, let me take that down. Notice how much water the Swan is in. Right? The element of water, which is symbolizing emotions. We know that the Swan is coming into a lake because that's what the card, the information coming from the author told us, right? And the water by the wolf isn't as much. And it has a waterfall in it. So it's moving water, whereas the Swan is on a lake. And usually lakes are deeper. Not always, but usually. Okay. So I'm really interested, because I tell you what, when I looked at them together, the feeling that I had was both mate for life. Swans mate for life, and so do wolves. And so there's a longevity, there's a consistency there, right? And so what could the wolf medicine help us to understand more about the swan medicine at a deeper level? Rochelle says, I am a water sign, can be emotional. Yeah, well, we all carry all of the elements with us. Yes, we do. And I know that the Swan card is about our soul. It's about our soul. You know, and here we have the wolf that is coming to us to help us to understand at a deeper level something within our soul growth, connecting to our soul. The wolf also hunts primarily at dusk and at dawn. They're a community animal. We know this for a fact, that they're highly intelligent. They have a communication system that travels miles from pack to pack. They hunt together. They're strategic in their hunting. They're a community animal. And we also know that there's an old saying about a lone wolf, right? The thing is that there are no lone wolves. That if you see a wolf, that it's by itself, it's probably a young male, and they're looking for their mate. And many times they're looking to start their own pack or to be a part of a smaller pack, right? So for me, you know, knowing that piece about that is we have a lot of support in our soul growth. A lot. You might say that we even have a whole community behind us, right? Or to the side of us. Rochelle is saying, when I first saw the wolf, I immediately thought of power. Power. Okay. power. So was that power external or internal? Because when we're looking at the swan and we're talking about our soul, right? Like I said earlier, that some people have a belief that our soul is separate. It's someplace else. It's above us, but it's outside of us, right? When we consider ourselves a whole being, all aspects of us are right here. Our inner child, the conscious self or the adult, and our higher self or the soul is all in the same being. Yeah. So Rochelle is saying internal, right? I think you're right, Rochelle. And Janet is saying they're both moving as well, not standing still. Oh, good point, Janet. Good point. One's coming in for the landing, the swan, representing her soul, and the wolf is on the path, right? On a path. But you're right, moving. All right. Good one. Let's find out what the author has to say about the wolf, and how we can bring that into a deeper meaning for ourselves. All right, so he says that the wolf, the words associated with wolf is intuition, learning, and the shadow. Intuition, learning, and the shadow. He says that the card, I laid it down, here it is. The card shows a wolf stalking in the forest near the source of the river Findhorn in Scotland. The last wolf in Britain was killed here in 1743. It is the time of the Faol, I think that's how you say it, the wolf month, the last fortnight of winter and the first of spring, generally corresponding to February. In the foreground, we see snowdrops, the flower of the Druid festival of Imbolc at the beginning of February. So isn't it interesting that wolf would come to us in the month of February for the first time? And a fortnight is 2 weeks. And so literally we have the last 2 weeks of February in front of us. Okay, on the right-hand side. Okay, so let me show the bottom card here. Bottom of the card, Rochelle is asking, what is that little object down on the grass on the bottom right-hand side? Okay, so there's a flower, and it looks like it's the same kind of flower, just not bloomed on the other side. Right, let's see if I can get that. There we go. And that flower is called snowdrop. Very interesting. All right, so the author goes on to say that Faol, which is the Gaelic word for wolf, brings a strong sense of faithfulness, inner strength, and intuition. But the wolf brings learning too. Sometimes you need to cross barriers, to take risks, to go beyond the limited compass of normal behavior in order to learn and grow. Although crossing these boundaries may seem unattractive, even painful, you need not fear the inner power and strength you feel when you spend time alone. Come to know your deepest self, and even in the darkest places, you'll find courage and spiritual companionship. Even in the darkest places, you'll find courage and spiritual companionship. Yeah. And let's see. Janet's asking, I was wondering what's around the swan's neck. It's a necklace. It's a necklace. And the necklace is worn by a female swan because it is a maiden that shapeshifted into a swan. Yeah. All right. So just in that little piece there that I read, the thing that jumped out to me was that the description is faithfulness, inner strength, and intuition. That the wolf also brings learning. That sometimes you have to take the risk in order to achieve the learning, right? Some might call that the life lessons that we're here to learn, and so that we can gain wisdom. And that wisdom that's gained is gained by our soul, because it's our soul, that part of us that is immortal. And so it goes on to the next experience. And and that part of us takes all of that wisdom that we've gained through every lifetime. So it's comprehensive, right? And because in our mental mind, while we're in this physical body, sometimes we don't understand or we don't remember, right? Doesn't mean it's not there. Our soul is the repository of our wisdom. And we do have access to it. We do have access to it. We might not be able to see it all in one shot, all in one big piece, but we have the opportunity and the ability to be able to access that information that could be most helpful in this particular lifetime. So we're drawing to us or that remembering of an ability, a piece of that wisdom that could help us in what we're learning here right now. That makes sense? And some people might actually see that as a risk, kind of a leap of faith, right? A leap of faith into ourselves. Yeah. All right. So, and wolf can help us to come to know our deepest self. Even in the darkest place, you will find courage and spiritual companionship. Now, the card was not drawn in or given to us in the reverse, but I think that there could be some information in the reverse message that could be helpful in our understanding. Okay, so this is what it says: that the card may suggest that you need to come into a new relationship with your sense of aloneness in the world. Behind a fear of loneliness may lie a fear of your own inner strength, fierceness, and power. And Rochelle, you're the one who said that you felt power when you first saw the wolf, and it was internal, right? It says, learn to trust this and come to know your deeper self. Come to know your deeper self. Through dreams and intuitions, you may come to learn more of the hidden side of your being, which is sometimes called the shadow. As well as there being lone wolves in the world, you should know that the wolf is a faithful animal which often mates for life. In tradition, it was considered lucky when a wolf crossed the path of a bridal party, precisely because of this faithfulness. Even though you may not need to spend time of your life alone, you should know that you will also have times of companionship and togetherness. Okay, so out of that little piece of the, in the reverse, right, meaning, is that the wolf can help us to understand ourselves in a deeper way. That shadow part of ourselves. To come to know ourselves better. In other words, come to know our full self. Is to be able to remember the aspects of our soul that are already there. And as the wolf is walking that path, helping us because the author said that the wolf was stalking prey on this path near the water. Your prey could be that shadow part of yourself. What lies in the emotion, in the fear. Right? So that we can become our more fuller self. We can come to know our whole being. Not just the bits and pieces of ourselves, but our whole being. The wolf can help us track that down. So that we can have more of a connection, a stronger remembering at a soul level. So it comes down into our consciousness in our everyday life. Not just in those rare moments, but actually in our everyday life. Now, wouldn't that be something? Wouldn't that be something? What it would feel like? What would it feel like to have a full knowing of ourselves as a whole being? I think that's part of our experience here on Earth. Yeah. That soul growth. So I think that's why the wolf came, to help us to understand what we were to gain by the essence of the Swan card, to help us understand it at a deeper level. Yes, the pictures are pretty. It's great artwork. We appreciate the art. But there's a deeper message here. What do you guys think about that? We're at the top of the hour. The author actually wrote quite a bit about the wolf. And one of the things that made me go, oh, really? is that there are actual clans in both Scotland and Ireland that have wolf as their totem. And there's one clan that actually believes that their clan was started by a wolf. Didn't know that. They also talked about them being in Wales and their connection to wolf there. The very last paragraph in here, it just says that just as Merlin found companionship in a wolf, so can we. If Faol becomes our ally, find closeness and spiritual companionship with the most faithful of animal guides. Above all, Foil will teach us through our experience to trust ourselves and not to fear or reject those parts of us that we do not yet understand or know. So, lots of times when we're talking about our shadow self, it's kind of scary, to one, admit that we have an aspect of our self that's in the shadow, that we repress some of our emotions because they're not necessarily acceptable, for a long time. And it's a generational thing that, for a woman to show their anger was not an acceptable thing, right? To have that kind of emotion. And so we end up repressing it, suppressing it. And that becomes part of our shadow self, right? They even talk about the werewolf. Yeah, and that, could actually be a part of our shadow self. And so the wolf can help us as they're tracking down that those aspects of ourselves that are in the shadow, to come to know our full self. So that we're a whole being rather than a being of bits and pieces. Yeah. That is a spiritual conversation. That is what I love about doing this daily live stream with you guys, is to be able to share that kind of insight and to have you guys a part of the conversation, right? Yeah. Yeah. Rochelle's saying a lot of good info. Yep. A lot to think about. Yes, that's for sure. And a lot to feel about. Go to the feeling part too. And Rochelle says, "Oh, men not being allowed to cry." Yeah, and I think it's a generational thing because I have nephews who they don't feel that restriction as much as my brothers do. So I think that some of that is a generational thing. Being raised by single moms too, sometimes that plays into it. Yeah, but you're right, Rochelle. It gives us a lot to consider, a lot to take in. This was not a very light reading of the cards at all. This was pretty deep. Could be considered big medicine. Yeah. Could be. We're at the top of the hour. I wanted to say that if anything that you guys resonated with the information that was shared today, I always say this almost every day is to recognize it, to embrace it, acknowledge it, right? And then be aware, watch, sense, feel, see how the energy of the day unfolds for you and where this information could be helpful, how it could be helpful to you. And if it didn't resonate, don't worry about it. It's okay. You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings, not here. If you say, that just didn't do anything for me, that's okay. Don't worry about it. There's always tomorrow and tomorrow's cards, right? Sometimes you're just the messenger. That you say, they had that conversation about the swan and the wolf. That swan showed up again. And you have a friend that might be searching for this kind of information or just finds this kind of conversation valuable. You can just share the link of the recorded show with them. And then you're done. Yeah. All right. So we have a really big week coming up for you guys with shows. We got lots of live stream shows happening this week, starting on Monday. Monday we have the Tarot Journey with show host Julie Hedges, and she's going to be talking all about love. It's going to be pretty good. The astrology and the tarot, right? And she's also doing card reading also that night. She doesn't do it every show, but she announced that she will be doing some card reading for that show. So if you'd like to be a part of that, join her. Her show is at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Yeah. And then on Tuesday at 10:30 Eastern time, a.m. in the morning, Mervyn Kelly is the host of From Star to Stone. He'll have his show on Monday morning at 10:30 Eastern, and his is all about song and story. So we might actually get a story from him. He's a really good storyteller. And he's the modern druid, right? So you might want to catch his show, 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And then at noon Eastern is Chakra Sessions with Polly Jo LeBay. Yeah. And I should remember what she's going to be sharing about, but for the life of me, I don't remember. I know that Stephanie has it in as posts in the comment sections. So this is all written out for you guys. You don't have to try to remember it, because obviously I'm not doing a very good job at topics. But her show is on at noon. And so the first half is about information, and the second half is a healing meditation around what was just offered to you in her show. That's noon Eastern, Chakra Sessions with Polly Jo LeBay. And then my show, my weekly show, Communications from Home, Tuesday night, that's the 19th, February 19th, at 8 p.m. Eastern. My topic is, so who's a shaman, right? And so we're going to be talking about, people becoming shamans. And all that's part of that. Actually, that topic came to me from Tina Warbonnet, who comes in the daily live stream show quite often. So join me for that, 8 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday at noon. Wednesday at noon. At 3 p.m. Eastern is this daily live stream, because this is every day, right? 3 p.m. Eastern. And then at 4 p.m. Eastern is Nature Adventures with Minnie Kansman and myself. We're going to be sharing about the sacred element of air, and that's 4 p.m. Eastern time. All right. And then Wednesday night at 7 p.m. is Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay. It's an evening of healing and divine messages, healing meditation, and then card draws at the second half. Okay. 7 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday. Thursday, I forget, because it's not angel therapy on Thursday. That's the following Thursday. I don't think we have. Oh, Thursday night. That's it. Thursday night at the Academy closed group here at Facebook is our monthly free mini class. And we're going to be talking about soul contracts that night. I'll be teaching that night. And so we'll be talking about soul contracts. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday night. Okay. There. Whew. I told you it was a lot. And it's all written for you in the comments. Stephanie has posted all of that. So you can always scroll through and find the information that you're looking for. Okay. All right. So with that, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow, Sunday, for tomorrow's daily live stream and group card. All right. Okay. Baba Mina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. I love you guys.